We know that the Trump administration is about restoring America to her greatness. First, he ran on Make America Great Again, and now he's running on the New Gold Era, something like that. Part of his agenda is to cut back federal funding. He implemented DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, or he plans to implement DOGE, which was going to be headed by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, even though Vivek has walked away. But that was the plan. They want to limit government spending and then try to reduce some of the debt that America owes. Because honestly, as we know, the borrower is slave to the lender.
He can't say that.
Sir, you can't
Is he
say
allowed
that.
to say
I'll
that?
say it louder.
So if we keep digging ourselves further and further into debt, it's not good. It's not a good look for the future of America. We have this article from the New York Times. It says, Trump administration offers 2 million federal workers payouts to resign. Where this stands, federal workers aiming to drastically reduce the size of the federal workforce and push out people who do not support President Trump's political agenda, his administration on Tuesday offered roughly 2 million federal workers the option to resign but be paid through the end of September. That's the end of the fiscal year. The fiscal year for the government resets on October 1st. The Office of Personnel Management, OPM, which oversees federal civilian workers, emailed the offer with the deadline of February 6th. So he's saying next week you need to make a decision. You got to shit or get off the pot. We're going to give you some money, about 7 months worth of pay, for you to resign. Of course, there's going to be a temporary uptick in spending because they have to front load those people's paychecks for the 7 months if people are incentivized to quit. I don't know why you would quit if you are a federal worker. There are ways that you can be released from your federal program, from your contract. But for the most part, once you get that job, you're locked in for life. You know, there's a lot of people, especially in the DMV, there are a lot of people that choose government work, federal work as a second career. So we have a huge concentration of military bases here. You have Andrews, Belvoir, Bowling, Quantico, just a huge concentration. What people do is after they get out of the military, they use their experience from those jobs in the military to get into the federal workforce and get a second retirement. There is going to be a certain amount of people that this caters to, but for the most part, if you're here, you kind of get into the system and you get into the cycle, and people are not going to trade their stable federal career and their second retirement or even their first retirement for the people that are not prior service or whatever. They're not trading that for 7 months worth of pay. I don't know that that's a good deal for anybody, unless, you know, you're in a huge amount of debt and you're confident that you're going to be able to walk out of that and walk into something else damn near immediately. Unless you're in that type of situation, right, where you just have a huge amount of debt, you want to pay it off, and then you're going to be starting anew. I don't see why you would be incentivized to walk away from your stable federal job. But of course, there are going to be some people. We just got to see how many. The second part of this says a funding freeze. A federal judge in the District of Columbia on Tuesday afternoon temporarily blocked Trump's order to freeze trillions of dollars in federal grants and loans until they could be vetted to ensure they aligned with his plan to purge the government of what he calls woke ideology. But the freeze order had already disrupted Medicaid and a variety of other programs, leaving millions unsure if they would lose access to jobs, services, and healthcare. There was a video I was watching on this earlier where a guy, he was saying that his friends that have Medicaid, they were kind of in limbo about their appointments because the portals where you go and book your appointments and these types of things, you know, I'm not familiar with it. But this is what the guy was explaining in the video. Those programs and those websites, those portals, they were inaccessible based on Trump's guidance. It says that it was blocked by a judge, and I know you can spin up and spin down a web server. We'll see how this progresses, but it doesn't seem like a good way forward to block tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people from having access to their health care. I got to think that some of the people that voted for Trump are looking at this and like, yo, what have I done? I let this guy back in the seat and he's ruining everything that I rely on a day-to-day basis. I got to think that there are some people like that. But, you know, he has a very loyal base and people say it's a cult-like following. So there are undoubtedly a lot of people that are aligned with the things that he's doing. I mean, he won the election. So that says something. Migrant detentions. They're using Buckley Space Force Base over in Aurora. The decision plunges the military deeper into President Trump's order to secure the southwest border. That's kind of something we already know. The migrant detentions is something we already knew about. He said that he wasn't happy with the amount of people that the Biden administration had allowed to come into the country through catch and release and things like that. So we expected this, and it's absolutely playing out exactly how he described that it would. Trump is absolutely doing the things that he said he was going to do. We talk a lot in this country about politicians dragging their feet or making a campaign promise to do one thing and then not doing it. No, Donald Trump is not doing it. Everything that he said he was going to do, he's immediately started acting on. I don't know if he moved this swiftly in his first term, but he's got a fire under his ass this term. And he's making the things that he said he was going to do, he's making them happen. Regardless of if we like it or not, there's a substantial amount of people in this country that did like it, and he's catering to that base. You know, some people were upset about the January 6th pardons because everybody was pardoned, 1,500 people, and some of those people were violent offenders who attacked police officers. So he alienated a part of his base on that decision. But the things that were outlined in Project 2025, the things that he said that he was not in agreement with because he wasn't going to uphold the things that were in that document, we're seeing for ourselves exactly what it is. We're a week in, and it's been an interesting ride already. And it's only going to get more interesting. We're going to see how these things progress. Like for the funding freeze, while I agree that we need to slow down on what it is that we spend on, because the government doesn't spend on anything efficiently. Nothing that the government does is efficient. We're going to see if his plan over the next 4 years, not only if it plays out, but how successful it is, because he's certainly doing a lot of things, and time tells all, right? Time will tell us who's a genius and who's a fool. I think that time is going to tell us that we're making some foolish mistakes as a country in a lot of ways, namely putting him back in the office. But he's there now, so no crying and complaining about it. We got to ride the wave wherever it takes us. If you like the video, like the video. Subscribe to me back here for the next conversation. And if you have thoughts on a federal funding freeze, if you think it's a good idea to offer the federal workers a buyout, if you're a federal worker and you're thinking about taking a buyout, let the world know. This is the place for discourse. Till next time. Peace.